All right, before we get started, what makes us experts on this dark web, dark net stuff? Absolutely nothing. We are not experts on the dark web. If there's anybody in here who, surfs the dark net a lot, knows more than us, please feel free to contribute your comments. If you have any questions, please ask a question. We will try to answer it to the best of our ability. And we do have a few free shirts for like a good comment or a good question. Why are we studying and surfing the dark net? So that's like, are we buying stuff illegally online? No, what happened was last year, Professor Tom Holt, who has presented at this conference numerous times, he asked me to be part of a criminology panel, on a panel at a criminology conference about the dark web. And I'm like, okay, but I don't know shit about the dark web. I mean, I know a little bit, but it's not my thing. But I will go figure out a little bit of stuff about it. And as I was doing that, I would talk to people and tell them what I was researching, and they would be like, oh, that's cool, let me see it. And they were like, oh God, I gotta get on there, I gotta do stuff, I gotta buy stuff. And so that's what brought this talk to here. This is Quiet Ride, QR, engineer by nature. I'm a personal privacy advocate, so I do endorse the techniques used to surf the dark net. I recommend that you use them in most of your online surfing. Not to go to Facebook, because you're putting your whole life story out there anyway, but for general surfing. Yep, and I do drink too much, absolutely.
Neither Vic nor QR condone, encourage, or endorse anyone to do anything shown in this presentation beyond the 100% legal activities of buying bitcoins, setting up encryption and digital signature keys, and using safe surfing tools to provide improved online anonymity. The presenters do not buy or sell items on the dark web, and they give fair warning that some people do get arrested, prosecuted, and incarcerated for such activities. This information is being shared purely for academic observance and individual awareness purposes.
All right, so what is the dark web, the dark net? All right, hacker boy. So that is what's happening on the dark net. People are daring each other to do stuff, and at the end, some gutter punk shoots Emma Roberts dead, and we're all responsible for it. So if you surf the dark web, you will die.
If somebody tells you to jump off a bridge, do it.
Yeah, but one thing he did say, like everybody who logs on is a server, and everybody that uses Tor can potentially be a node on the Tor network. Anybody can set up a Tor node, and he did say you're only accessing 10% of the internet, and that is absolutely accurate. So what is the dark web? So here we have the surface web. So the top stuff is the stuff that we all visit, and that's actually like 9% of the information on the internet. It's everything that's indexed by Google and Yahoo and everything else. In the middle there is the deep web, which is not the dark web, it's not the dark net. There's like 90% of the internet is on the deep web, 500 times more sites than show up in Google. This is old, outdated content. It's hidden because of various reasons. It's databases that Google is barred from indexing or crawling. Social media content marked as private, Dropbox stuff. They do have some expensive commercial tools that governments use to go through the deep web and try and find stuff. Google has a website called deeperweb.com, and it's free. You can go there and try to search deep web stuff that you typically would not find in your regular Google search. I tried to search on my personal web page that I've been using to share versions of this presentation with Quiet Riot here, and it sat there and ground through and never did come up with that content. So The internet doesn't know about my personal webpage. The dark web at the bottom, that's like the 1% that's left. That's the sites that are purposely hidden. It's illegal information. It's used for political purposes. So the Tor browser and Onion router network was originally designed by the Naval Research Laboratory. It was meant to for government networks to share private information without our adversaries getting that information. It got turned over to DARPA, and then DARPA, at some point, Naval Research Laboratory decided to go public with the code. I think that was in 2002, and in 2004, the EFF started contributing to the development of Tor and the Onion router. So it was really used for political purposes, for people who are living in China trying to get around the Great Firewall of China, and people who live in other countries where they're oppressed to try and find out what's actually going on in the world. But then it quickly began to be used for like child exploitation, selling drugs, anarchist type stuff. So this is a review of darknet sites and content. This is kind of a breakdown of a distribution. So you see there's a little bit of weapons, some stolen data, some drugs, lots of drugs. That big green other, that's actually, a lot of that's like porn. It's anarchist sites, murders, cannibalism, hacking tools, devil worshippers. But a lot of it's also Nerve, Game of Dares. If you want to play, you can go find it there, but not really. But a lot of it's actually offline. So a lot of these darknet sites don't stay around a long time. They're there for a while, then they're gone. People, don't stay online on these darknets for a long time because stuff happens. Stolen data markets. Okay, all right. So just briefly on stolen data markets. So sellers will post ads on darknet market forums. So there are darknet sites like eBay, but a lot of the credit card data, social security data gets posted and sold through darknet forums. First time I saw some of these postings, it was like one piece of gold for X, amount of Bitcoin. I'm like, well, they're selling gold, like actual gold, and then I realized, oh, it's gold credit cards, platinum credit cards, blah, blah, blah. So they put those online. Why is this thing not showing? All right. About 3% of those who are offering these credit card dumps will give you free samples. So if you want to buy some, they say I have 10,000 credit card numbers for sale. It's this much. I'll give you 20 of them to validate that this data is good. You go, you run a couple of checks, make sure that the credit card numbers you got are good, then you buy the whole dump. About 48% of those darknet vendors who sell credit card dumps will offer free replacements. And you see this number 5, we replace called dumps within 24 hours. So if you buy 1,000 credit card numbers, you have 24 hours to validate that some of them are good or all of them are good. And if somebody else got them before the seller sold them to you, he'll refund, or your money that's in escrow will be returned. Otherwise, it's yours if you don't contact them back. Darknet market reputation. So much like any other e-commerce sites, the markets are driven by feedback by consumers. They post comments on it. On the card sites, there are legitimate insulated markets that actually have good customer service. They're regulated, but they're kind of self-regulated. They're more difficult to get access to. You have to get multiple referrals to get into those sites. And factors to review and consider before purchasing on any dark market site. Look at the positive feedback, negative feedback, which currencies they're using, replacements, customer service, how long have they been around, has the product been tested. Darknet Toolkit. So this slide has the basics. and we're going to go through several of these basics. So this is what you absolutely must have if you're going to surf the dark web and potentially buy something on the dark web. You do need a Tor browser because you're going to .onion websites and you can't get to those with your Firefox or Chrome. You do need GPG to access some of these sites and do some encrypted messages. Proton Mail is just one webmail provider. It's based in Switzerland. It's got a lot of security features. It's outside of the US, so the NSA and others can't get into your email. It's actually built so that Proton Mail can't get into your email. VPN will go into why you should use that. Cryptocurrency, if you're going to buy some, you need some cryptocurrency. These things are not super necessary, although Pigeon and BitMessage on some of those Carter forums, they do require that you have Pigeon or BitMessage because they do want to have some direct communication with you. And KeyPass, hopefully a lot of people know what that is, just to store your encrypted passwords so they're not written down anywhere. And publicly accessible networks. If you're on the dark net doing sketchy stuff, if you use these tools, you're hidden, you're obfuscated, and if you're a buyer of small stuff, it's probably safe if you use these tools to buy from home, as long as you always use these tools and you separate your dark net surfing from your regular surfing.
And any identities.
And any identities, and there was somebody busted like last week who was mixing identities and did like a lot of stupid stuff, and I do have a link to that. But if you're a seller, you should never do this at home. You go find a public network and never do it from your house because you're the person that the people want to catch the most. Tor browser.
When a Tor user wants to visit a site, the Tor software visits the Tor directory where it obtains addresses for the Tor relay. The Tor software on the user's computer then routes the user's effort to view a site through a random set of Tor relays donated by volunteers. At the first relay, the user's computer's IP address is replaced by the address of the relay. The next relay only sees the address of the previous relay. No single relay knows the whole route, providing strong anonymity protection. Using other tools, many users will encrypt the actual data they're sending and receiving too. The user reaches its target,
Blogger.com, in the last hop,
but Blogger doesn't know the user's computer digital address. It only knows the address of the last relay that handled the user's request. If the same user goes to visit a different site, the process is repeated, but with another random chain of relays. This prevents anyone from aggregating data on an anonymous person's activities and interfering with their data.
Okay, so the server that you're connecting to never knows who's connecting to it. You never know as a client what server you're connecting to. All you know is you're going through these hops on the Onion router. Tor does run on Windows, Mac, Linux. And unless QR has something to say about Tor to add in, we're going to jump into GPG, QR.
So GPG, derivative of what's called GP, which is something that came about in the early 1990s. It was highly controversial at the time because the NSA thought they were losing control over what people were doing, and they thought they wouldn't be able to spy on the behavior of a lot of people that were using it. It kind of democratized the technology a little bit. It took lots of theoretical knowledge that you could find in cryptography books, and it put it in a simple application that you could run on your computer. And its application was originally intended for email. So that was a commercial product, and along the way we ended up with a open source version with a little bit of wordplay on the initialism. And that's GNU Privacy Guard, which is the most widely used today. So PGP, pretty good encryption, pretty good privacy, and GNU Privacy Guard can do a variety of different things. You can encrypt and decrypt with multiple different modes, multiple different ciphers, and you can also do what's called signing, which is where you apply a cryptographic signature to a certain body of text saying that somebody with a certain key or secret has authenticated this body of text to be something that cannot be modified without it being detected. And this encryption and decryption is primarily what's used in the way that we can get onto some of these darknet sites. So what they'll do is they'll encrypt something to what's called your private key, and then yep. So this is called public key encryption. You generate a key pair, which is a private and public key, and there's some crypto magic in here. You provide your public key to the other party, and with your private key, which you keep to yourself, and you have a passphrase that is needed to unlock the use of the private key so that you can decrypt the message that's sent to you over open ciphertext. So anybody could see the ciphertext along the way, but they would have no way to find out what's in the body of text without your private key and your passphrase attached to it. So that's one way where we can decrypt something that only we can see. If we never give our private key away and nobody steals our private key, then there's very little chance that anyone else would be able to see what's being said.
And as we'll see in the demos later, PGP is actually used to authenticate you to some darknet sites, so we'll go through that. The Proton Mail, again, you could use Gmail, but if you're going to use Gmail in the dark web, because you do have to provide an email address for registrations on some sites, you better have a separate identity, and you better know that Google is going to share your Gmail information with federal government entities, so I recommend using something else. So Proton Mail has a lot of security features. If you go to that link that's on the bottom there with that security details, I'm not going to spend time going over all the security features of it, but it's a very robust solution. You do get your own key. So Proton Mail cannot read your mail on those servers. It gets delivered and only the recipient can read that mail. And you can actually use that technique to communicate with people on Gmail who are not on Proton Mail if it's configured properly. So you have your private key, it's a private public key. Proton Mail cannot read your stuff.
This is like the next gen of what was Hush Mail.
Yeah. Why use VPN? So Tor users have gotten some, focus by entities. So if you fire up Tor and start surfing the net and you're not on VPN, your ISP can see a lot of things you're doing. They can fingerprint browsers and at least know you're a Tor user. Maybe you're somebody who needs to be looked at more closely. If you go to some of these websites, you'll see some of the information that can be obtained about your machine through its browser properties. So it'll execute some JavaScript when you visit those sites. It'll tell you what your IP address is. It'll tell you some information about your machine, which browser you're using, which version, a lot of other information. And of course, if you have any vulnerabilities in your browser, some JavaScript or Flash content could execute that tells everything about your machine. So I'm not going to visit these links, and later we might pull up some Wireshark PCAP captures to just show the difference between what your ISP sees when you're just opening Firefox or Chrome and surfing around doing searches versus what your ISP sees when you're on a VPN. Because when you're on a VPN, all those packets are completely obfuscated. They don't see anything. They don't know you're using Tor. You're coming out of some node that is somewhere else, anywhere in the world if you want. So we'll look at the VPNs and show how you can choose different servers in different cities that you connect to, including in other countries. So everything from your machine to some other country is completely invisible to every wiretap in the United States. And then when you come out, you're using Tor and you're bouncing through a bunch of Tor nodes. So highly recommended to use a VPN.
You do need to trust your VPN. You may not trust your local ISP, your business, or the cable modem you're attached to at home, but you do need to trust the VPN endpoint.
So here is a Supreme Court ruling from April 2016 to go into effect in December 1st, 2016. And so you can look this up. This is an actual Title 28 change. So Title 28's been around for a long time, but they do amend it from time to time. And the thing to focus on is Rule 41, search and seizure, down on number 6. A magistrate judge has authority to issue a warrant to use remote access. So a judge can issue a warrant for the FBI to use remote access to break into your computer, to search electronic media, and to seize or copy information if you have used technological means to conceal what you're doing. So you could interpret this to say, if I'm using Tor and my ISP sees that and reports that to, government entities that want to look at what you're doing, maybe a judge signs a warrant that says hack into his or her computer and find out the details of what they're doing, because we can't see what they're doing through that Tor node, but if we gain remote control over that machine and we install our own monitoring tools, then we'll know what that individual's doing. Use VPN. Here's a few of the popular VPNs. So what I'm running on my machine is IPVanish. IPVanish is United States based. They do not keep any logs. They swear they don't. But if the NSA goes to them with a court order, they might start keeping logs of where I'm going. They do have nodes all over the world, so you can decide where you want to drop out. If you're interested in VPNs and doing a lot of darknet stuff, I'd probably recommend using NordVPN. For me, I'm not buying this stuff online, so I'm just doing academic study, so I don't care that much that I'm just going to use IPVanish. If I was doing something really sketchy, I'd choose something like NordVPN because it's not in the United States and they're not bound to U.S. laws.
We're saying that it's okay to look. If you buy something, that's a whole other deal, but you can look.
And there's a link there for other VPN comparisons, and just check out their features and decide what you like. And now cryptocurrencies.
So in 2009, we came up with, somebody called Satoshi came up with something called Bitcoin. And these are what you call blockchain technologies, and that you can move around little bits of hashed values, similar to the GPG stuff we were talking about. It involves cryptography, but based on a in-time sequence of blocks of transactions of people moving blocks of hashes around, you can exchange value. So it's based on a scarcity and hashing. Hashing requires computing power, and the value comes from requiring that the computations are done. So if you're doing this hashing and you can actually create these currencies yourself, you're effectively exchanging the power of the power to run your CPU to create the hashes to receive currency. It would be difficult to do by pencil, so you could do proof of work through just doing the computations yourself, but it would take quite a long time. In 2009, Satoshi came up with the Bitcoin, and it's a modern solution to the Byzantine generals problem. The Byzantine generals problem is, say you've got a bunch of generals trying to take over lands, and they have trouble communicating with each other because you don't know if somebody's trying to, if somebody's been compromised. So this is a way to ensure that you can conquer lands with the generals being able to exchange messages with one another. Bitcoin has a total of 21 million coins that will ever be released. I think it's just a little bit over 21 million, and so far on the network. It's a distributed network. We've uncovered, quote unquote, about 16 million. So there's more to go. It's a self-supporting network, and the bookkeepers are the ones that are rewarded by the currency. So if you put effort into to maintain the ledger between all of the different parties partaking in these transactions of moving little bits of sort of imaginary value around, then you can be rewarded by having some of this value yourself.
But because it's a limited currency, that the market value goes up and down based on its desire to be used.
It's based on demand. So if you want a bit of the currency and somebody mines it, you can then do work for them or pay them in a fiat currency, and then they can transact some to you. So if you don't want to mine yourself, you don't want to run the CPU to do it, you can just find somebody that has some and exchange work, or however, work or fiat or carrots or beans or seeds or anything you want. So it's just another currency. Bitcoin is kind of the gold standard, if you will, in that it was the first, and that it's sort of the reference point to many of other cryptocurrencies that have come along. We call these alt currencies or alts, and some of the more popular ones these days, they're all kind of based on the blockchain technology, but they have different feature sets and different numbers of coins and different release times and different features. And Ethereum, Litecoin, and Monero are some of the most popular on some of the darknet sites.
Yeah, and Monero is gaining a lot of popularity because it's a lot harder to track its origin when you're using it to do digital transactions. And fun fact about Satoshi, there's a lot of speculation over who it is, if it's an individual or a group, but whoever it is has now the value of over $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. So
If somebody used to exchange U.S. funds for all of the what this person has, yeah, it'd be quite a large sum. Bitcoin is not anonymous or untraceable. It's all a public ledger. So if you present an address that you want somebody to pay to you, it can all basically be traced back. So the Monero is higher degree of obfuscation for where transactions are coming to and going from. So if you'd like to get some, you're going to need a wallet, and you're going to need, if you're not going to hash and make them yourself, you can buy them locally. You can find a trader on Local Bitcoins or Mycelium, which is an Android app. There's a couple others, Coinbase and Kraken and this, but you can also, north of here at Crabtree Valley Mall, they have an ATM where you can go to the food court and put your credit card in, and it will give you some Bitcoins.
which I did not know, and that's where the Raleigh 2600 chapter used to meet when I first moved here in 2001.
Right, correct. But it's north of $1,700 if you'd like one unit. So
You can
we're
buy
dealing in very small
partial
fractions,
units,
yeah. Up to 100 millionth of a unit. There's a meetup in Raleigh, approximately monthly, and you can just go there and meet in a park and say, hey, do you have some Bitcoins, or I'd like to sell some, and people can peer-to-peer meet up and do exchanges. And various rates are offered. Some people maybe want to hold on to them, so they might want a bit more for them, or sometimes they're trying to get rid of them and they need to cash out, so the market varies quite a bit.
So if your hobbies aren't geeky enough already, go to the Bitcoin meetup, and then you can really claim the
It's not illegal to meet in a park, and you can just learn. You don't have to buy or exchange anything. Everyone's very friendly and happy to teach you and answer questions.
All right, let's go shopping. So this is the fun stuff. All right, I'm going to fire up Tor browser. Oh, wait, first I got to be connected to the internet. Oh, wait, I'm connected wireless. Never mind. Hopefully it's not a bandwidth issue. takes a minute. Sorry.
Establishing circuit.
Any questions? Yes? Correct. So if you're not using a VPN, you should use a bridge so that your ISP doesn't necessarily know you're using Tor, because it'll start at the bridge. Yeah. All right, so Tor is open now, and I'm on the hotel wireless network, and if we, oh, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I want. Why is it not showing what I want? It's supposed to show the hops that I'm going through. Okay. Doesn't usually take this much. Oh, that's right. You know what? Here, I'll go to, so if you want to browse stuff on the regular net, you use Google or Yahoo or whatever. We'll go to Not Evil, which is a dark net search engine. So if you get on the dark net and you don't know how to find stuff, you can go to Not Evil and just query whatever you want. And here we go. So this is showing that my Tor circuit for this session to Not Evil is going from my browser to France to Poland to Germany through 1 relay, 2 relays, 3 relays to the Not Evil site. If I was going through a VPN, my VPN exit would be wherever I choose it to be, whether it's in San Francisco or Hong Kong, and then I would jump through some of those sites. So if you want to Carter Market. So you just get on here and do some searching, and let's go to Hansa Market, because I do have an account on there. I'll start up KeyPass. So if you're using KeyPass, I mean, you can keep your database offline on a thumb drive or something in case somebody confiscates your machine. They don't get your KeyPass database, and you keep your passphrase in your head, and then you keep all your other passwords in the encrypted KeyPass database. For this demo purposes, my KeyPass database is on this local machine. Hansa Market. So I'm going to put in this ID. And these IDs are created just for this demo purposes. Copy my password. Security challenge. Capital F. You know what? I was supposed to be here. And when you copy in passwords out of KeyPass, they're only cached for like 10 seconds at the most, so you got to be fast. AF. What's that? Oh yeah, you're not supposed to talk about Fight Club. All right, so I'm on Hansa Market here. So what are we interested in buying today? Drugs, services, erotica, counterfeits? No, let's not choose erotica, please. Yeah, so security and hosting, so services, okay, it's a gold card worth $10,000, line of credit. Wait, there was an adult thing. Let's see, some Starbucks stuff, some, sorry. All right, let's buy some IDs and passports instead. I apologize for that, especially for any underage folks in the room. But you can buy like legit looking, and I don't know what's on this market, driver's licenses, you can buy passports, all sorts of identities on the dark web. It's pretty high quality stuff. Let's go to hacking. Oh, malware and botnet. So if you want to rent out a botnet, and there's various places you can do that. These are just some guides, some tools. So you can get some, tools that are commercial that cost a lot, like $25,000, $50,000. Darknet hacking services, hack any website, remote keylogger. So this darknet hacking service, for $206 US, their consulting services will hack into web servers, FTP servers, web applications, install RATs, remote access tools, blah, blah, blah. Here's our credentials. Here's what we do. 200.
Ethical hacking certification.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So they signed the agreement that they would not associate with underground people, and they broke it just like I do. Drugs, this is like the hot popular thing these days. We want some opioids, some prescription stuff, some psychedelics. There's a lot of LSD online. China White, black tar heroin, hey man, $70. Don't do that, kids, seriously. I knew a girl who did that, and it was not fun. Yep, so let's go to another darknet site, and there's a lot of stuff there, so we could surf around, poke around, do it as much as you want, but do it over Tor, and you have to do it over Tor and do it over VPN. But let's say we want, let's go to this guns dark market. So there's some like weapons, and you'll click on a link, and they're selling brass knuckles and nunchucks and stuff you can buy in any store. And there's a lot of that, so okay, we can buy some pistols. Yeah, okay, I can buy that in a store. So here's an AR-15. Yeah, maybe I can get a 3D printer and make a part and buy other parts and put together my own AR-15 and not have it tracked by some government sales thing. Or I could just buy the full AR-15 here and not have it tracked anywhere that I bought this gun. So it's like, okay, well, what's so cool about the dark net? Okay, well, what if we want a grenade launcher? So here we have on this top left picture, this really cool grenade launcher, and it comes with 3 grenades included, PG-7 VR grenades included. So these are rocket-propelled grenades. I think they will go through 2 meters of concrete and some number of millimeters of armor-enhanced metal. So this is hardcore stuff. The FedEx guys. Yeah, so yeah, we'll talk about delivery of this stuff momentarily. And you could ask, well, where is this stuff at? Is it coming from overseas? Is it already in the U.S.? I don't know where this grenade launcher is, but there's a lot of ways to get stuff into this country, a lot of creative ways. A guy I work with was just telling me about some Mexican gang that is now killing kids, taking out their intestines and stuff, and semi-embalming them so they don't stink, and stuffing drugs in their bodies and having them look like they're asleep in the back seat of a car as they drive into the U.S. And there's lots of sick, twisted ways. There are people who weld stuff underneath the water on ships, and the ships come into port, and somebody scuba dives down, they get it. They, catapult drugs over, they drone them over the border. There's a lot of ways to get stuff into this country. So if you're sleeping safe at night thinking that you're protected from a rocket-propelled grenade, you're not. This next site is not a, buy some stuff, but this one's kind of an interesting site, Parasite. So this is some hardcore kind of stuff, stuff I don't condone, endorse, or, but I'm aware of this site. So scroll down, a lot of stuff, but then, all right, so IRA, jihad, wares, Nazism, violence, sexual violence, hacking, freaking, a lot of sketchy stuff, lockpicking, yay, we're doing that here, cannibalism, anarchism, lots of sketchy stuff.
Pretty dark.
Yeah. All right, let's go to another site, and I don't have, okay, was that something I passed up? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so some of those hitman sites are very short-lived. You can hire a hitman online, but the law enforcement entities can surf Tor and the dark net just like we can, and can hire a hitman, and as soon as they accept payment to go kill somebody, if they can get their hands on that person, they can arrest them. There's also some revenge sites that people will do all kinds of crap to someone you hate. Yes. Can they sell anything on here? They can set up honeypots, but if they can't deliver anything. So, they could set up a site that accepts money for a promise to deliver something, but they legally can't sell you anything illegal. So as far as Hitman, I think this actual site was a bunch of goofy stuff, like a bunch of people just posting nonsense. But I've seen some, 404, it's down.
Yeah, like Vic said earlier, a lot of this is quite volatile day to day.
Sorry for the bare ass. So this is 0-day forum. The resource is a private platform registration. Registration requires 2 vouchers. So there's ways to get access to it, but this site, as you can see, has a lot of credit card dumps. And you see there's bank logs, PayPal, and stuff like this. What I've seen on some of these sites, there's a lot of Wells Fargo bank account login, with this much. Yeah, Kerbob had his Wells Fargo bank card compromised. I bought it on the dark net last night. So, but also access to people's PayPal accounts and lots of stuff. So you can buy those things and then go into those, Kerbob's Wells Fargo account and transfer some money to some overseas bank account and stuff like that.
Use that multi-factor.
Alpha Bay. So Alpha Bay actually requires 2-factor authentication, so just a quick demonstration of that. And I was going to do the Outlaw Network, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff on Outlaw, but they actually just went down. and there's a lot of speculation on why they went down. They've been around a while, and some of the speculation was they were hacked. Other speculation is they were exit scammed, or they did an exit scam. So they made money, and they built up this reputation, and then they hit a point where they decided they wanted to get out for one reason or another, and they collected money to deliver a bunch of transactions on their site. They cashed it out, kept it, and shut down their site. So that's always a risk, but it's less risky if you are working with a site that's been around a while and has a reputation. And you can get the reputations on these different sites on deep.web to see, you know, how legit they are. None of them are legit. But, I'm going to log into Alpha. All right, so in order to register an account with Alpha, I had to provide a public GPG key or PGP key. So Alpha has used my public key to send me some crypto text. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to start this GUI GPG thing, even though you do a lot of the stuff command line.
It's pretty easy. There's a lot of tutorials on how to. There's a lot of tutorials on how to make your key. It's fairly simple. A lot of them involve sending your key to a key server, and I would not recommend doing that. Just manually manage your keys, unless you really want somebody to send you email. And it's probably also a good idea to set expirations. But for these darknet stuffs, you could just use them kind of in an ephemeral way.
All right, so I've pasted my ciphertext. I want to decrypt it. It wants my password or passphrase for this. For my private GPG key. Okay, so my two-factor auth code is here. So that's the value that was encrypted with my public key. I have now decrypted it with my private key. And I come over here, chunk it in there, and that's how they know it's me. And log in.
So that's not just a simple password. That's a password that unlocks the data that's in the private key, then decrypts the data.
Yep. So, and as far as buying things, you have to associate some digital currency with your account. And if you look in the top right corner, I have 0 Bitcoin, 0 Ethereum, and I'm not sure what XMR stands for, but, you know, I'm not buying this stuff. What's that? Okay, Monero, okay. So I'm not buying stuff. I haven't linked it, at least haven't linked anything to this account. But, so you would just link your Bitcoins and then be able to buy stuff. And, you know, this one's like another eBay type site. There's a lot of buyers and sellers. A lot of the dark market is moving away from eBay type sites to vendor market sites. So somebody who grows weed, marijuana legally in some state where it is legal will set up their own dark market site and sell a lot of strains of just marijuana and ship it all over the U.S. or all over the world. So that's the difference between a vendor market site and this type of site. We're running out of time here, so let's get back to the slides. I was going to bring up ZeroNet, which is a torrent-based dark market thing, and show you. Everybody's heard about the shadow brokers dump. Yes, it was all over the news, the WannaCry stuff last week. So shadow brokers originally sold those NSA exploit tools through ZeroNet site, which is a pretty cool site. And if I had time to log in there, I'd bring it up and I'd show where they had posted that back in December, and they were selling those NSA exploit tools for like $800,000 for the whole kit, or you could buy just individuals. And what happened back then, after they posted that in December, Microsoft bought some or all of that. They saw which ones were exploiting their products, and they wrote the patches that they started releasing in March. So, and then shadow brokers dumped that stuff on the internet for free, which caused all kind of firestorm patching, and then it caused this WannaCry worm. So, on product delivery, some sites use dead drop type things, so you can sign up to be a courier and either delivering product or picking up product. So a dead drop thing is somebody's buying some illegal stuff. You are a trusted courier. You get it from the seller. You get it to the buyer within his geographical vicinity, and you stash it somewhere, be it taped under a church pew or on somebody's roof or in the woods under a rock, and you take a video, not with your smartphone, just some other device that's not going to show your geo coordinates and all your metadata of who you are, but you take that video to show exactly where it is, and you take the GPS coordinates and you provide them to the seller, and the buyer is able to get that video. It's encrypted, only they can view it, and only they can get the GPS coordinates, and then they go pick it up from that place. Other ways to get stuff delivered, there's a house across the street from me that has been vacant for 9 months. I could get something delivered there, and as I drive into my driveway every day, look on the porch across the street and say, is it there? Okay, something's there. I'll wait till it's dark, and I'll go over there and pick it up. Or send it to a friend and tell them, I'm sending this to you. Don't open it, just hold on to it for a couple of weeks. And if somebody knocks on your door and says, hey, you got some contraband delivered here, you just say, oh, I didn't know, this was not to me. I don't know what this is. I've never opened it. I was going to bring it back to the post office or whatever, and I haven't gotten around to it. After some period of time, that's reasonable that, somebody would knock on the door to make that inquiry. You go pick it up from your friend, and then if some inquiry is made, your friend says, I threw that away. I don't have it. So there's lots of ways to get product delivery, or different ways. Safe surfing tips and resources. I think we're kind of out of time, but use Tor browser. Don't link your identities. Don't do torrent over Tor, because torrent will reveal your true IP address. Don't enable and install browser plugins, because they will reveal your true IP address. Don't go to any sites that require JavaScript. So use HTTPS versions. Tor browser includes HTTPS everywhere, so it's going to try and enforce that. Never open documents downloaded through Tor while online, because some of them will have content that will reveal things about your machine, so you don't want that to happen. A guy asked about bridges. Who asked about bridges? Oh, he left. So throw him a shirt. Use public networks. Change your computer's MAC address. So if you're home and you get on your ISP router, your MAC address goes there in a DHCP reservation or a DHCP request, and your ISP knows your MAC address and who you are, and they can share that with government entities. And then you go to your public coffee shop and you get on their network, and your MAC address goes through there, and then you start doing stuff there, and they can correlate those things that way. MAC address is a physical hardware address. You can't change the physical hardware address of your wireless or your Ethernet adapter, but it's presented via software. So you can make a change in your operating system to say, my MAC address of my Ethernet card is really this, even if it's not, and the software will send that in its DHCP request and every other packet that goes through. Use Burner-Phone. Use Bitcoin to pay for VPN or other stuff to not even show that you're buying a VPN. Here's some other resources, links, and if you would like a copy of this presentation, you can email us, although Quiet Riot didn't really provide an email address, but you can email me or email like info@carolinacon.org, and we'll share the slides. That's it.
you.